What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Obviously, you can tell by the title. Going to recap what we saw today. Obviously, Nebraska football died in front of our eyes. We saw grown men soiling themselves in key spots. So we're going to get to all of that. Going to briefly touch on some of the other games, although not that much noteworthy to take away from today. Also going to come away and kind of analyze one of the storylines that we saw pop up midday about Michigan and how they're handling their quarterback situation. So, going to get to all of that throughout today. There will be timestamps in the description and should have chapters. I don't know exactly how YouTube does that, but usually when I put timestamps on the video, it'll have like a chapter and you'll be able to click through from topic to topic. So, if not, check the description below. I'll have timestamps there. Before we get started, guys, just want to say, appreciate y'all watching, first of all, as I said. But if you want to help me out, please subscribe to the channel. So you won't miss any of the upcoming content. The way I'm going to do it throughout football season is I'm going to do individual breakdowns for these games, and post them individually to YouTube. I'll then have a playlist each week where you can just go in, play through all the individual breakdowns. So excited about that. Feel free to like the video as well. That's probably the main thing. If you're asking me how can you help me, build this, like the video. That really helps what I'm trying to build. And then, if you hear anything you like that you don't like, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd appreciate all of that. We actually went 1-0 today. Cast our lone play on Illinois minus the 10.5. Got that at a good number because it closed at around Illinois minus 14. Didn't matter though. We're gonna get to all of that in a sec. Appreciate y'all watching. Let's get right into it. All right, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I think we all know where we got to start here, week 0. I mean, got a lot to get to in this Nebraska Northwestern game. I don't even really know where to start. I guess the way to go about it is just to go through the actual game, and then we'll get into some of the decisions throughout the game. I think Nebraska came out hot. Saw them that first offensive possession, throwing the ball well. Casey Thompson looked really good in that first half. I mean, looked good in the first drive of the third quarter, too. I didn't have a great feel as to how Nebraska was going to run tempo wise. Bringing in a new offensive coordinator and Mark Whipple. He obviously ran fast at Pitt, but it's a new system, it's a new team. I guess I didn't know how much Scott Frost and maybe his preferences were going to factor into that. But Nebraska came out and looked good offensively in the first half. I mean, the only drives they didn't score, they got pinned back a few times inside their 10 or maybe even 5-yard line. So field position kind of hurt them a little bit. And then they had that fumble in the red zone where, I know the people on TV were saying that, looked like his knee was down. In my opinion, it looked like he almost fell on top of the Northwestern defender. It was tough to tell. It's one of those where the call on the field is probably going to stand. But listen, Nebraska. It was a reason that I could just not be on. I mean, I can't lay double digits with a team that was 3-9 last year. I'll say it this way: that was as talented as they were and still went 3-9. That was as competitive as they were and still went 3-9. Because this is the thing: if you're going to be a winning sports bettor, you have to put stock into these predictive analytics. That stuff matters, but you also have to be willing to acknowledge when you're dealing with a unicorn. I've thought this comparison for a long time, but Nebraska is the opposite of a team like Providence this past year in college basketball. Providence was a team that consistently won by 4 and 6 and just played all these close games that just went their way. And a lot of people were just couldn't wait to fade them in March. And you know what? They made the Sweet 16. On the other side of things, Nebraska continually finds ways to lose games. It's almost an innate skill at this point. So there was no way that I was going to be able to lay double digits with them. With that being said, the way if you told me that they were going to come out and score, 14 points in the first half and just look as good as they did, came out really hot in the second half too, I would have had a hard time seeing them lose this game. What really surprised me was Arkansas. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm thinking of Arkansas. Nebraska defensively was just, totally disappointing to me. I mean, the one thing I thought they were going to be able to do was stop the run. You got Garrett Nelson. I thought linebacker was going to be the strength of that team. I thought they came out hot early, but man, Nebraska missed a lot of tackles today, way more than I would have assumed. I thought, if anything, defensively, thought I kind of had that side of the matchup right. But I mean, they couldn't get any pressure on Ryan Helinski. I mean, they got Ochuan Mathis from TCU, who's supposed to be this big time, edge rusher, got $600,000 worth of NIL money. I mean, he didn't. get called once. I mean, you're asking who that is. Exactly. If he's supposed to be this big impact player, where's he? I mean, they missed tackles in the secondary and, busted coverages on that first passing touchdown by Helinski. There was a 3rd and 11. I saw Jeff Nadeau put a very funny video out on 3rd and 11. I mean, they're leaving the middle of the field wide open. I mean, just a disaster all in all. But I think what we all want to talk about, and I'm going to get to Northwestern and give them their props in a second, but I was, banging the wall on this right as it happened. But that onside kick is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. There's a time and a place to, call an offside kick kind of off script, very in maybe an untraditional spot. It's like one famous one that sticks out to me is that Saints Colts Super Bowl. I thought that was a brilliant time to call a play like that. Obviously, but you're going up against Peyton Manning. You're not going up against Northwestern. And I thought what made it so weird, you came out and played so well in the second half. I mean, back-to-back scoring drives. You're up 11. You have literally all the momentum in the world. If there's one thing Northwestern, one thing that you thought Northwestern wouldn't be able to do coming into today, it's, they can't fall behind because Ryan Helinski's not going to win the game through the air. So why you would, give them the ball on your side of the 50 is just nuts. And that seemed to really turn the tables. Teams that lose, that, know how to lose like Nebraska does, it takes one thing like that. And you saw the flip, you saw the switch just totally flip there. We saw it play out in front of our eyes. I mean, from there, the game never felt the same. Northwestern went and scored immediately, made it a one-possession game. And from there, it was just, hanging on for dear life, playing not to lose. So just a disaster. I guess we'll get to Scott Frost and maybe his future, which, I'm surprised that we're even talking about that, to be honest. But give credit to Northwestern. And if this game taught me one thing as a sports bettor, it's this. You have to factor in head coaching acumen into your handicaps. I tweeted that out right after the game. I mean, Pat Fitzgerald versus Scott Frost is a total coaching mismatch. I mean, Fitzgerald's been there for, 15 years, maybe a little bit more at this point. He's coached them to multiple Big Ten West titles. Scott Frost has never won more than 4 games. And, he's probably not going to get to finish this year out. So that has to matter for something. At the end of the day, we can look at matchups and, efficiency metrics and all that. But good coaches find ways to win and bad coaches find ways to lose. And that's what we saw today. I mean, give Northwestern credit. Ryan Helinski, in my opinion, coming into the year, was the worst quarterback in the Big Ten. I think his numbers last year warrant that. He just wasn't a good player. But, man, he came out and looked sharp today. Didn't really make that big of a difference in the vertical passing game until they were able to, strike on that big deep ball that made it 14-10. And from there, Helinski just got really comfortable. I thought they ran the ball pretty well too with a good 2-headed system. You obviously had Evan Hull coming back. You can't remember the name of the other guy, but did use both running backs pretty well. The one thing that I felt like I had right coming into today, Nebraska can't run the football. They had that one long 46-yard touchdown run where should have been a 2-3 yard gain, breaks a few tackles, takes it to the house. That actually made it the 11-point lead before the whole onside kick debacle. But if you take that run away, that's why it's important to actually watch games, because if you look at Nebraska's rushing statistics from today, take away the 46-yard run and see how it goes. I mean, they were around 3 yards a carry aside from that. And they just could not establish the run. I feel like the one mistake Mark Whipple made in that second half was, he came out early and just let Casey Thompson get in a rhythm. We saw that, very apparently in the first half. He looked comfortable, looked confident. He was delivering balls on time and accurately. But, man, it seemed like as they started to try to establish the run, I mean, it worked for the chunk touchdown, like I said, that made it an 11-point lead. But when they needed to rely on Casey Thompson's arm, I mean, he seemed to have just completely fallen out of rhythm, to be quite honest with you. So this coaching staff is a mess. I personally don't understand how Scott Frost makes it past tonight. I think you got to leave him in an Irish pub. I mean, we saw a grown man soil himself in Dublin, Ireland tonight. And, let's just call it what it is. So Nebraska fans deserve so much better. And I'm not the first one to bring this up, but obviously They got rid of Bo Pelini for doing much more than Scott Frost has. It's been a rough stretch. As a Texas fan, you see the Bevo in the background. As a Texas fan, I can sympathize with you, but it's never been this bad. We've never gone 3-9, and we've never dealt with quite the incompetence that we've seen at Nebraska. And then just the post game quote too. I mean, he's talking about how his offensive staff needs to adjust to playing in the Big Ten. Dude, you called an onside kick up 11. You flipped the game on its head. I mean, your team totally crumbled because you're the leader and you are a bad leader. So just a mess. I'm really surprised that we haven't heard Scott Frost being fired. Maybe they'll get back to the United States. But I'll say this too, and this is kind of more on the Nebraska administration. He shouldn't have ever been retained in the first place. I don't care if you're coaching at UTEP or Southern Miss or UMass. Well, maybe not UMass, but if you're coaching at most any program, if you go 3-9 in your fourth year, you're done. No questions asked. So the fact that Scott Frost is even back, that's why it's hard to feel bad for the Nebraska administration. You obviously feel bad for Nebraska fans, but he should have never been back in the first place. If your coach is in a position where if he loses game one, then he's suddenly, on his way out, he shouldn't have been retained in the first place. So just a mess. Obviously comment down below your thoughts on the situation. That was kind of my read of the game. I actually lean once again towards that Northwestern team total under. Obviously Ryan Helinski exceeded expectations, but I think more than anything, the Nebraska back seven, well, it's really their whole defense because they couldn't get after the passer. Ochoan Mathis is this, big, ringer that they brought in that just had no impact on this game. It kind of got pushed around up front in the second half. Linebackers didn't play well. Some blown coverages in the secondary and just missed tackles too. So just a disaster. We'll move on. Just kind of going over some of the other week 0 games. I had a play on Illinois that cashed pretty easily. We got it at 10.5 on Tuesday, and that's when I gave that out. It got inflated all the way up to 14, kind of how I thought it was going to. Thankfully, though, it didn't matter. I mean, they ended up winning 38-6. Quite frankly, so we've seen some bad coaching today. I think it's Craig Bowl from Wyoming. The fact that he ran out Andrew Peasley from start to finish. I mean, let's just look at Andrew Peasley's stats for Wyoming today. 5 of 20 for 30 yards. Did add 76 yards on the ground, but unless you're just like a senior established player that's proven so much over time, how do you let that guy play the whole game? I mean, I wasn't mad about it. It made it an easy win for us, but it seemed like Craig Bowl had no intention of winning this football game. I mean, he was punting in the third quarter on like a 4th and 1 around midfield, settling for field goals. That's the one thing I didn't mention too about that about Northwestern. Their offensive coordinator sucks. Congrats on the win, but man, I mean, we saw him run the ball on 3rd and long in the red zone multiple times, only to kick a field goal. The only time that you run the ball on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 is if you're going to go for it on 4th down. So just kind of a side note there. But yeah, as far as Illinois, I mean, coming into this game, I said I'm higher on Illinois than most. I think we kind of saw that today. Obviously their run game totally dominated. Chase Brown, 19 for 151, 2 touchdowns. Saw McCray and Hayden get a little bit of work too. But Chase Brown is a good football player. I know the Big Ten is always kind of known more as a run-first league, maybe more so just by style than actually having the guys to do that. There's some really good running backs in the Big Ten this year. I think Chase Brown is right up there with guys like Blake Corum, Braylon Allen. I'm not saying he's that level, but great start to the season today. Looked really good on the ground. Tommy DeVito, I made this statement throughout the week. I said I thought Tommy DeVito was a substantial upgrade from what Illinois had at quarterback last year with both Brandon Peters and then Art Sitkowski. I think I might walk back from that a little bit. I mean, he was 27 of 37, but less than 200 yards, just around 5 yards per attempt. He virtually showed no feel as a downfield thrower. All of his success really came in that really short, quick passing game. So, they play Indiana coming up soon. And I know Indiana's not good. They went 2-10 last year, but they're going to be a lot better than Wyoming. So I think Tommy DeVito's, I personally, even going 27 for 37, I was kind of a little bit wrong there. It didn't matter for this game, but, it's something to note moving forward that, maybe Illinois' passing game won't improve all that much. he just didn't show much feel, really anything 10 yards or deeper. In fact, I think I heard on the broadcast that he didn't complete a pass more than 15 yards. Well, he had one for 27. That must have come kind of later in the game, but regardless, really good win for Illinois. I thought that line was super short. I think people don't realize just how much Wyoming got devastated in the transfer portal this offseason. Lost quarterback option, top running back, top wide receiver. And I mean, they just weren't built defensively to handle a good running attack like that. So felt good about that play. That was actually my only play here in week 0. I ended up laying off anything in that Northwestern game. As far as the other games today, I mean, Austin Peay kept it close against Western Kentucky. Saw UNLV. I heard a lot of people tweeting about that game. I mean, let's settle down. You're playing Idaho State. I mean, you're favored by 22.5. You cover, but I mean, that's the problem with a lot of these games. I mean, what do we learn about UNLV beating Idaho State? We learn nothing. That's not going to translate to. I mean, I know they're still in a Group of 5 conference, but when they play Boise State and teams like that, it's just not going to translate. We saw 2 kind of bigger name schools in the ACC play as well. Florida State against Duquesne. I'll say this: I'm really high on Florida State. I played their win total over the 6.5, so obviously a good start tonight. If they lost to Duquesne outright, I think we'd have a lot of problems on our hands. But they're obviously going to play LSU next week. I like the way they match up with LSU. I think this Florida State offense is really underrated. Jordan Travis last year, they were 5-2 with Jordan Travis as their starter and 0-5 without him. He dealt with tons of health issues last year and just really couldn't really stay on the field. But I think an underrated aspect of this team is their passing game. I mean, Travis last year was over 8 yards per attempt. So I mean, and given his running ability, I think that's certainly enough to work with. But the one area that Mike Norvell really improved Florida State this year was that wide receiver room. And I mean, they obviously got Micah Pittman from Oregon, but they've got some young receivers on that team. We saw one today, Johnny Wilson. I mean, he had a 51-yarder, didn't go for a touchdown, but I mean, they've got some length at wide receiver. I'm not necessarily sold on LSU secondary. I think underratedly, that could be a matchup that Florida State could exploit. Just a quick comment, and we're obviously going to get to tons of week 1 breakdowns here throughout this coming week, but seeing that line at 3 for that LSU Florida State game, call it a neutral site game, but it's in New Orleans. It's virtually going to be an away game for Florida State. I've contemplated taking the points with Florida State. It's obviously a short spread, so it might not really matter. You're kind of picking a winner there. I mean, well, let's just say this: you're not taking an underdog. You're not taking 3 points with the underdog, expecting them to lose by 2. If you're taking that at that short of a spread, you think there's a pretty good chance they can win the game. I think the way I might play that at this point is to tease that up to 9, because I do think Florida State is a team that's feisty. I have a hard time seeing them lose against LSU by multiple possessions. We're going to talk about that game a lot more throughout the week, but I think Florida State offensively, and I didn't even mention, I think their strength is running the football, both with Travis at quarterback, but they got a deep running back room as well. I mean, they lit up Duquesne, but I mean, they had success last year, and that was a team that just got a lot better throughout the year. I know they were 5-7, but obviously had a bad start to the year. I thought they got a lot better throughout last year. I think that's going to be a game that obviously we'll talk about this coming week, but don't just assume that LSU, based off name alone, is going to handle Florida State. We saw North Carolina too. Is that game still going on? Yeah, it is. Okay. North Carolina pulled away a little bit. Well, there's 1 minute, 30 seconds left, 62-24. They obviously went with Drake May. It seems like they had a hard time, picking a quarterback there. Looks like he's getting all the reps. It didn't even look like Jacoby Criswell played. Criswell had 1 carry. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this game. We didn't even think this game would get played because Florida A&M had 17 guys, I believe it was, deemed ineligible yesterday because they either for academic reasons or transfer portal, for some reason, right as they're about to go to Chapel Hill, all these guys get rolled ineligible. What a joke. But anyway, it seems like North Carolina played well tonight. They got a big game this coming week at Appalachian State. They're the slight favorites on the road. let's just say I'm leaning towards App State in that one. We'll talk about that one throughout the week too. Other than that, I mean, do y'all really want to talk about North Texas and UTEP? Would we talk about that game in mid-October? No. Would we talk about Vanderbilt, Hawaii in mid-October? No. And so that's kind of been my approach with week 0. I felt like I obviously stuck with Illinois as my only play. And a big reason for that was that's obviously a play I would make, later in the year. I thought that the line was short. I like that matchup for him, so I played it. But I'm not going to claim to have a great feel on a team like UTEP and North Texas. But personally, those aren't teams I'm going to handicap throughout the season. I don't really do Conference USA, so I hope nobody listening to this got crushed too hard yesterday. I know with week 0 coming back, it's exciting. We all love college football, but your later self will thank you for being safer than sorry. I saw a lot of people spray the board today and kind of get crushed for it. So I hope that wasn't you. All right, I want to pause real quick. I know y'all see that we've got the summer shirt working. I'm not in Miami. I know it looks like it, but I know you're looking at me saying, how can I look as cool and sexy as that guy on the screen in front of me? Well, I'm going to tell you how. Proud 90 Golf. Unique but very comfortable polos. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. They got obviously vibrant styles like this, as well as more plain and traditional styles. They got, polos, t-shirts. It's not going to be this hot forever. Got hoodies and quarter zips as well. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs. Go to proud90.com. That's proud90.com. If you see anything you like as you browse their selection at checkout, you're going to use the code Fordham. It's going to say discount code right as you enter your payment information. If you use the code Fordham, you'll get 15% off your entire order. Code Fordham gets you 15% off your entire order. Support me, support Proud90, proud90.com. Let's get right back into the video. All right, last thing I want to talk about here today, had some news come out of Ann Arbor today that was just, quite frankly, just kind of mind-numbing. Jim Harbaugh is a weird, quirky guy. I think we can all understand that, but his decision to go with this 2-quarterback system, I know they play 3 cupcakes to start the year, but quarterback is one of those positions. I'm kind of the belief that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. That's one of those positions where a lot of leadership is involved. It's not like you're just rotating in a D lineman or even wide receivers. That's the guy that's the guy. That's the guy leading your offense, and that's the guy that the receivers, linemen, running backs are going to respond to. So I think it's really weird. I hate that decision. Well, I'll go ahead and explain it. So Jim Harbaugh basically came out today and said, we're going to start Cade McNamara week 1, and JJ is going to play 2, and then we're going to start JJ McCarthy week 2, and then by week 3 we'll have a good idea. I hate it. In my opinion, this is as clear as day. I know Michigan fans. I don't really know where Michigan fans fall on this. So if you are a Michigan fan, let me know where you fall on it. But to me, Cade McNamara is the guy. He led you to the playoff last year. And I think Michigan's going to have a pretty good chance offensively to essentially, I know they lost Josh Gaddis to Miami, their offensive coordinator, but, stayed in-house and just basically promoted guys into that offensive coordinator role. I think they have the personnel to be able to just kind of repeat what they did last year. Cade McNamara did a great job. They won on the road in a tough game at Penn State. They obviously won the Big Ten, first of all. They beat Ohio State. I know they didn't go into that playoff game and really make any waves at all. But would JJ McCarthy have led to any different result? The answer is no. I think the one thing about Cade McNamara, listen, this is going to be a run-first offense, in my opinion. I sprinkled on Blake Corum at 100-1 to win the Heisman Trophy. I think he's extremely talented, and now with Hassan Haskins moved on, I think Blake Corum is set for a breakout year. He ran for nearly 1,000 yards last year as the backup. So, like I said, this is a team that can pound the ground game. The one thing that they can't afford, in my opinion, is just inconsistency. And I think there's a much better chance of that with J.J. McCarthy than McNamara. McNamara threw just 4 picks last year. He took care of the football. He's a good game manager, and sometimes that's all you need. What's going to hurt you is turnovers. And, as good listen, J.J. McCarthy undoubtedly has a better arm than McNamara. He's undoubtedly has the higher upside. That doesn't mean he's the better option. I think it's crazy that to lead Michigan to a playoff in a year where they were expected to win around 8 games and then have your job in question, that's bad ball. And some people might not see it that way, but I see it clear as day. JJ McCarthy's still just a second-year player too. So in my opinion, he's got to wait his turn. And listen, if Cade McNamara goes and through the first month of the season, well, in my world, if he were to start like I would start him, and in that fourth, fifth game he's unimpressive, then you move to McCarthy. But it's just kind of strange to think that you lead your team to the playoff, and now you're going to be the backup. I just don't see it that way. I know that teams that recruit at a high level are often the ones in the playoff, but not every 5-star is going to come in and just automatically be the better option. I think we saw all we needed to see from Cade McNamara last year to know that he's going to keep you in every game you play. I mean, they're going to go early. Well, not early, but I think week 5, they go on the road to Iowa City. I mean, that's going to be a big game. I'm high on Iowa this year too. We know how well coached they are. It's a tough place to go play. You'd be hard pressed to tell me that you wouldn't rather have Cade McNamara in that spot than JJ McCarthy. And listen, some people might say, well, play them both. And y'all might agree with what Jim Harbaugh's done. It's just like I said, it's one of those positions where it's so dependent on leadership and continuity with the rest of the guys in that offense. Two quarterback systems just don't work in my mind. 2006, I think Florida had, was it Chris Leak, and then a young Tim Tebow. That's not this situation. I mean, it's not like McCarthy is a 240-pound guy who's more of a runner in the red zone, and then McNamara is kind of the passer. I mean, both of these guys are pretty similar. So it's not even like one can provide something the other can't. Like they'd be able to do that. Two quarterback systems just don't work in my mind. Call it a hot take, call it what you want. I've seen a lot of people today on Twitter just say, well, just give JJ the job because obviously you want to play him. I think if Michigan does that, that gives them the greatest chance to kind of fall flat on their face this season. So I think Cade McNamara is an extremely consistent player. And quite frankly, I think it's ludicrous that, he's not going to be the full-time starter, at least out of the gate. Like I said, I know Jim Harbaugh did a great job there last year. But I hate the move. I think he's a weird guy. And if there's a way to kind of ruin some of the good, merit you've built, it's making the wrong decision here. And that's exactly what I think he's doing. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. It's not even going to really be consequential early in the season. I mean, because like I said, they play 3 cupcakes. I don't really view Maryland, even though I'm high on Maryland, as a huge threat in the big house. But I just think that's a decision that could have its effect later in the year. So we'll see. I'll kind of get off my soapbox here, but did not like that move at all. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. I'm going to come on either Saturday or Sunday every week and kind of do just a reaction show. It'll almost definitely usually be longer than this, but we just don't have. I mean, personally, I'm not going to sit up here and talk about UTEP and North Texas and Utah State and UConn for 5-10 minutes at a time. I kind of think that's a waste of time. Those are just not teams I really pay attention to. Starting next week is we're gonna have full slates across the board. Probably going to be hour-long shows going forward, but shorter show today. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll say it once again. Like, subscribe, comment. That really helps the YouTube algorithm boost this channel, and I really do appreciate all y'all's support. It means a lot. I'll leave all of my links in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter at Fordham Betting. That's my main platform. But I've got a text service group where I send out my bets each and every day, so you can follow me there. Got all my different social medias in my link tree, which I'll leave below. So feel free to check that out, guys. Coming up, probably Tuesday is when I'm going to start rolling out videos. But I've already got a jump start on week 1. Got a ton of games to work through. Going to be making videos for a lot of them here on the channel. So we are deep in football season now. Going to have tons of breakdowns for you. And guys, just can't wait to get after it. Thank you again for watching the video. I'll be back probably on Tuesdays when I'm going to start rolling plays out and rolling the individual video breakdowns out. So thanks for watching. College football is back. Hallelujah.